Winnipeg Arena for the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships. And they're brought to you in part by Canada Safeway and its employees. Safeway, bringing the world together. The introductions of the two teams. Welcome back to TSN's continuing coverage of these World Curling Championships. Vic Rauter along with Linda Moore, Ray Turnbull, and our entire crew as we get ready now for men's semifinal play. Canada against Norway, Scotland against the United States.
I got a good idea, Vic. Let's watch some curling this afternoon.
And some great curling.
Yeah, we sure did. But what a great game by Julie. Really pleased. You know, as I said, you know, in the opening of the program earlier, that I really thought that, you know, with my head, my heart, I wanted Julie, and then I thought she could do it. But with my head, Norberg had been so hot. But the Canadians came out so pumped and just stuck to their game plan, got a little bit of an early break, and took advantage of it and never let up.
Well, the crowd settling into their seats as the teams exchange handshakes. There you see the Canadian lead, Don Bartlett. Dan Petrick is there, the second. The tartan scarves are out for the Scottish rink of David Smith. And there you see the rink of Christine Allison was there. There's Jussi Juuso-Pavoniemi. The lead of the Finnish team finished at 1-8, but he became one of the crowd favorites. The teams making final preparations will return with it. Men's semifinal action from the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championship. Ramsfjell and Martin.
Hi.
Yes, hi.
We're here to talk to you about fiberglass pink insulation.
The insulation used by millions of Canadians.
If you insulate your house with fiberglass pink insulation,
You'll stay warm,
you'll save money,
and you'll get a free pink neon freestyle ski jacket.
just like the one I'm wearing.
Buy 15 or more of these,
And get one of these.
Are you still living with this nightmare? Over 1 million motorists have said never again. They've switched to Triple Edge, the world's first high-tech windshield wiper. It clears, it cleans, it wipes dry, all in a single pass. And Triple Edge wipers won't tear, dry rot, or freeze to your windshield. They're made from DuPont Nordell, used in radial tires. So strong that if they ever fail, we'll replace them free. Triple Edge gives you visibility through the heaviest downpour. It whisks away snow and ice. Even mud is no match for Triple Edge. They're $29.95 a pair. Custom fit to install in seconds. No noise, no streaking, no smearing, no tearing. They're the last windshield wipers you'll ever buy.
Call toll-free 1-800-543-1007 or send $29.95 plus $4.95 shipping and handling to Triple Edge Wipers, P.O. Box 747, Station A, Department 126, Downsview, Ontario.
This time of year, the sounds of spring fill the air all over the world. In London, Frankfurt, Barcelona, Birmingham, and Montreal. The World League of American Football. Join us Monday at 8 as the Barcelona Dragons take on the Montreal Machine. Football for the world, here on TSN.
We have two of our finalists, Norway and Canada in women's competition. Now we decide the men's here at the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships. We're in Winnipeg. And the semifinals, the United States, Steve Brown against Scotland, David Smith, Norway, Eigil Ramsfjell against Canada, and Kevin Martin of Edmonton, Alberta. Boy, I tell you what, she may have thrown it perfectly, but it hung out there for an awful long time. All she needed was a piece of the Swedish stone. She's already lying second and third shot, but it hung on and hung on and hung on and finally came over just enough, and Canada scored their two to win 6-4 and guarantee themselves a spot in the final against Dorothy Nordby and Norway. Eigil Ramsfjell, 13 World Championship appearances as he goes against Canada. Canada, with their 9 straight wins, will have last rock because of that. and they will be throwing yellow stones. Norway finishes with a record of 6-3, and they will be throwing red stones. And Norway will throw first, and the Norwegian lead is 27-year-old Morten Skaug as we begin this men's semifinal here in Winnipeg.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how both these teams play. Eigil's indicated he wants his first stone in the rings, not up in front on the center line, so Morten Skaug will play an out turn down the center line path. Now, we talked about it in the other games that we had, that this is an outside sheet, Linda, so we'll keep an eye on it. Actually, the ice once again, I think we should repeat what we said earlier. The ice this week has been just fabulous. It really has been. It's changed a little bit through the week, but that kind of makes it interesting, you know, and so it's been terrific.
Ice maker is Don Atkinson, and we give him full credit for making the great ice here.
Yeah, Don Atkinson and the crew have just done a tremendous job. I was talking to Barry Fry last night at the Granite, and he said, you know, Ray, in all the years we've curled in that arena, and I've curled in this building many, many times, he said, I've never seen the ice this good. And it's true, because we've had some years in this particular building when we were playing in our provincial playdowns, because all our provincial playdowns are played in arenas, not in curling clubs, and we've had some pretty rough ice. But I'll tell you, Don and the gang have done a great job.
The Canadian lead is 30-year-old Don Bartlett, inside postal worker from Edmonton.
Good. I think it's a nice feeling to go into this game with knowing you have last rock, Linda. I think that's a nice thing. You know, you don't have to flip a coin or anything. And you know, you win 9 in a row, you certainly deserve it of something.
There you see the location of the Canadian game right next to the crowd on sheet E. The other men's semifinal is right in the middle of Winnipeg Arena on sheet C. Just underway, first end of this men's semifinal. Norway and Canada. Canada throwing yellow stones, and they do have last rock.
In turn hit.
We'll tell everybody as well that in the game with Scotland, between Scotland and the USA, Scotland won the coin toss there, and they have last rock. Here are the final men's standings, and this is how we got to the Final Four. Canada alone in first place, Scotland 7-2. The U.S. clinching third by virtue of their win over Norway in the final round-robin game. Switzerland had to hope for a U.S. loss and didn't get it, and the Swiss were eliminated. Good.
I had a moment to talk to the Canadian girls after the game, and they did really enjoy the fan support here, Ray. This building is so really alive, as you call it, so tremendously alive. And the fans applauded at the appropriate times, and the girls were not distracted at all. And they would like to thank all their supporters, the ones here, the ones across Canada that have sent them messages, and especially those from their hometowns, Victoria, where they're living now, and Oliver, Trail, Vernon, and Kelowna, where they're from. And a special hello and thanks to the Victoria Fire Department, who sent them roses before the game.
Fabulous.
Isn't that nice?
We thank you for the beautiful flowers you gave us, Linda.
Well,
That was
you're quite
really
welcome.
Nice way to start the morning. A nice, beautiful flower from a beautiful lady.
Whoa. Playing it wide open. The first Norwegian stone was into the rings, and that's where the play has been so far. The Canadian second is 25-year-old Dan Petrick, the fourth-year commerce student at the University of Alberta.
It's floating away.
They commented that that rock floated out again. This is the side where there are stands right next to the sheet. We may see some frost build up, and the rocks may not react as well farther out in the 12-foot on this side of the sheet.
Nicholas Jarund is the Norwegian second.
And our viewers should remember, just a couple of sheets away, we have Scotland David Smith, two-time runner-up, against little Stevie Brown, that just turned up to be pretty big the last part of this week.
It's just a great story. Dramatic turnaround after losing his first 3 games, and then coming back, storming back, really, with 6 in a row to get a spot in the Final Four.
Terrific crowd this afternoon. There was 12,000, in the neighborhood of 12,000. I'm sure there'll be a few more here. And as Linda mentioned, they're a very knowledgeable crowd, a very lively crowd, so they'll respond accordingly, and we'll have lots of activity in the building.
Okay. All right.
Pretty open end.
Was there an indication there that he may have, I mean, did I hear somebody say he missed it?
That was Kevin Park. He said if it doesn't curl, he's missed it, and it did curl up. I don't think it was going to miss it, but Kevin a little worried about how straight the ice is going early on. I'm getting very high times. That means the ice is keen. I'm timing about 24 seconds or even a little bit more from hog line to stop. Should make for some great curling.
First stone for the Norwegian third. Learn and into the back of the 12.
In-turn hit, Kevin says. We won't fancy this end up at all. Let's just play through it, get a little feeling. He did say in the interview we had with him just a short while ago that he was going to go after him, but he hasn't this end. Maybe take an end, maybe take two ends, but sooner or later, he said, I'm going to go get him. Big. Yep. Hard. Good.
Back 8 foot.
Yep. Come in. Come in. Huck. Come in. Huck now. Come in. Huck now. Come in.
And the ring's wide open.
Linda and I talked a little bit about it, Vic, you know, just before the finish of the last game, or at the finish of the last game, about some of the Europeans, Linda, believe that there is more pressure on the Canadians in the semifinal. In other words, we'd rather meet them in the semifinal almost in the final, or we have a better chance that we feel to beat them in the semifinals. Like, I feel that the Canadians are expected to get to the finals, and so the pressure builds, and there's no question that some of the European teams definitely feel that way. Eigil Ramsfjell is among those that feel that way, so he was almost very satisfied to be playing Canada right now.
In many ways, I think he's right. We do put a lot of pressure on our teams to finish in the top two and hopefully finish first.
And the reason that Eigil Ramsfjell is playing Canada here in this semifinal is because he missed his final stone against the United States in their final round-robin game. Steve Brown flying 2, and Ramsfjell with his final stone needed 4 foot.
They brushed it a long way too, Vic. They brushed it 3/4 of the sheet. You'll see now it starts to slide right about here, and you can almost tell at the top of the rings right about now that it's going to slide a little too far.
It would, and that would put the USA into the semifinal and eliminate Switzerland. And here is Eigil Ramsfjell and his first stone here in this first end of play.
I think one of the things that we'll notice in this game, Linda, is the contrast in hitting weights. Eigil in particular doesn't throw a lot of big weight, where even when in situations where he has to stick, Kevin has a tendency, because he throws it so well, to throw a little bit more weight. So we'll kind of keep an eye on those kind of things as we skip along.
So, of course, we'll see quite a difference in where they place the broom down for their own ice. Kevin will take a lot less ice.
Kevin Martin and his first stone, first end.
Roll a little bit. Roll it.
71% for a skip after the end of the round robin is a great number, and that's Kevin's number. Eigil may be a little disappointed in himself on some shots. He ended up at 73%, which might be a bit low for him.
Well, and as you look out there, I really think that the best 4 teams are here. You know, Stevie Brown got off to a bad start, but really he showed that he deserved to be here, as Vic mentioned, by really, you know, winning 6 in a row, and the best 4 teams are out there.
Canada beat Norway in their round-robin game, and rather easily, 7-1 in 7 ends. Both rinks entered their game at 3-0 at that point, and Canada handed Norway their first loss of this championship.
I might point out, Vic, that in 1978, in this very same building, Canada beat Norway in the round robin. Mike Chernoff and Eddie Lukowicz about 14-4, and in the semifinal, Norway came back to beat Canada. Eigil Ramsfjell, as we've already pointed out, was a member of that team. 1978. Norway then went on to lose to Bobby Nichols, as we saw in our opening, and came back to win the World Championship. 1979. Christian Sorum was a skip that year.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it may sound cliche, but whatever happened before doesn't matter now.
For sure.
Get off. All right. Okay.
He wanted a blanket, so he's not happy with that.
Kevin Martin and Canada forced to take 1 here in the first end. Wasted opportunity? We'll find out. We've still got a long way to go.
Hold on to your hats, folks, and prepare yourself for National Sports Warehouse Clearance. Starting March 28th, there's a $15 million warehouse clearance with up to 80% off on footwear, hockey equipment, ski wear, sportswear, and the list goes on. These savings are at warehouse locations only. National Sports Warehouse Clearance. Check your paper for details and location.
At the end of March, one of the most prestigious winter sports events in the world will be taking place in Western Canada. The Canada Safeway World Curling Championships at the Winnipeg Arena. The event brings together the top men's and women's competitors in the game and is indeed a proud moment for us all.
On behalf of our 22,000 employees in Western Canada, Canada Safeway is pleased to have been able to bring this fine event to the Canadian prairies.
Okay, work with me now, people, okay? See this name, Goodyear? What do you think of when you see this name? Tires. See, that's what I mean. For years, we've been doing tune-ups. Thank you, Gord, son of the owner. Tune-ups, under the hood work, but still, when we say Goodyear, you say tires. Come on, work with me on this.
From tune-ups to tires, Goodyear takes you home.
Goodyear does tune-ups. This is not a big reach. Pretty clear.
Update, the other men's semifinal first end action, United States and Scotland, and David Smith and his rink from Perth with Last Rock entering the competition or the semifinal with a record of 7-2, looking to hit blank as well, but as did Canada, forced to take 1, and so they'll lead 1-0 going to the second end of play here at the Winnipeg Arena, the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships men's semifinals. The Canadian lead, Don Bartlett.
Well, I have my usual list of statistics after the round robin to go through. What I really thought was interesting, Ray, was that the toss winner on the men's side only won 49% of the game. So basically dead even. It didn't really matter if you had Last Rock or not. The women's side, it was a little bit different. It was actually 57%, so it was a little bit bigger factor for the women.
The Norwegian lead, Morten Scout, works for the Credit Bank of Norway.
Come in! Push! Aye. Vic.
trivia question of the day. Norway finished first in the women's round robin for the second time. Who has the most first-place finishes and how many? Linda?
Well, I'm going to guess Canada, and I'll say 5.
Ray?
Sweden, 4.
Answer? Canada, 5.
All right.
Oh, I'm glad these are over. Aren't you, Ray?
That was a guess,
What
too.
was I supposed to say? Canada 5?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Dan Patrick.
You'll notice that the one year that I played, we weren't in there.
No.
We actually finished second.
Okay. All right. Plug it. Woo. What's that? Is that a little piece of corn? Or a big piece of corn?
Yeah.
Those kind don't really bother you
No.
as much as those little ones that you don't
The pulp,
see
right?
that can really get your rocks to curl.
Looked like it was an ear left on the sides. Nicholas Yarun. If you weren't with us earlier in the week, the corn broom of Kevin Martin came into play in the game, a tremendous game against Scotland. And there was some discussion, some heated discussion at times, whether in fact he was using it, Kevin Martin was using it properly. But as we pointed out, teams can file complaints with the officials. None has been filed, and anyone I've talked to says, heck, he's using it and he's using it properly.
Sapio. Outside in turn. And Petrick, no problem.
They're not using sheet D for these semifinal games, and something else that came up on the statistics, but only on the women's side again, was Red Rocks on sheet D never won a game in women's play, which is very unusual. But then I pulled out the men's statistics, and Red Rocks did just fine. So it seems like not only are the ice conditions great here, but the rocks are all consistent, and it's coincidence that makes one set of rocks win over another.
Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints at all about the stones. You haven't heard anybody talking about it's a, it's a cutter, it's a bad one, it's a floater, So I think that the rocks are excellent. The rocks are owned by the MCA, I believe.
Can't get much closer than that.
Those are great seats, aren't they? They're right in the game. Look at the crowd. It is absolutely jammed in here.
The only way to get a better view is by watching TSN.
We're not paying you enough. Really. Promos like that, brilliant. Who have been the big shooters in men's competition? Canadian lead Don Bartlett. He's #1 among leads. Canadian second Dan Petrick is #1 as well. Graham Connell is the big third from Scotland, and the #1 skip is Kevin Martin. So Canada taking 3 out of 4 spots in terms of percentage this week here at the World Curling Championship. They'll keep you updated on what's going on in that other semifinal as well, as the U.S. plays Scotland.
Ray mentioned how good all 4 of these teams are. As in the women's section, the percentages overall for the team are very close. You have Canada at 83%, Scotland 81%, U.S. 79%, and Norway 78%. So there's not a lot of difference between those 4 rings.
Same way they threw in the first.
Kevin Park, the Canadian third. His second stone.
Just drawing to the open side, Vic, just away from the corner guard. Kevin felt it was too far over to bother hitting, so he's drawing to the open side. Norway with last rock here in the second end.
Yep. Quick,
And the reason for that, of course, for the viewers that maybe don't play the game a lot, is that Norway has last rock, and if you try to go in behind that corner guard, you don't get it buried, then it gives Norway a chance to get the hit and roll behind it. So you play away from it, and the roll in behind the guard is almost impossible.
What's interesting is Eigil's trying to roll to the outside, to the 12-foot area, maybe because he feels it'll be hard for Canada to hit and stay. Then with his stone, he could try and go behind the guard.
Well, if he can get the hit and the roll to the outside, of course, the closer to the edge of the rings, you maybe get the roll out, and then, as you say, Linda, he can go in behind the corner. So I think that's the thing that the non-competitive curler has to try and understand, is that every little thing is for a reason. There's nothing. They don't do anything on the solidifies without a reason. And that's a good little point. He tried to roll it to the outside. So making the hit a little bit more difficult for Kevin Martin. Because if he can get Kevin Martin to hit this and roll out, he now gets a open draw around the corner.
Skip stones here in this second and the first from Kevin Martin. Canada leading 1-0 over Norway.
The broom was right in the middle of the rock. That's how straight this spot is.
Good. Okay. Good boy.
Eigil would like to hit this stone here. He'll call his ice accordingly, and you saw them take a look and roll right over into this area right here behind this little beauty that he put out there.
Get word from John Bryant, one of the gentlemen on the media bench, that as he says, the other World Championship will be played next week in Oakville, Ontario. And that is the World Left-Handers Championship, the 18th annual. Lefty Spiel, Oakville, Ontario, April 4th to the 7th. 56 rinks will be competing. We wish everybody there the best of luck. Eigil Ramsfjell.
Looking for the roll. No brushing at this point. They'll go away from it now. He's not going to get it, so... Actually, Vic, I've seen you throw right-handed. Have you ever considered maybe throwing left-handed?
Sure can't hurt, huh?
It's like chicken soup, pal.
Oh, I tell you, I thought I'd take it away from you before you...
Yeah, I know.
Boy, when you set them up like that, goodness gracious.
I throw the same weight. She stays right there.
We didn't mention the game we had last night, of course.
Okay, say it, Ray. I lost by so many, we were running out of scoreboard.
No.
Well, I had a pretty stacked team. Young Barry Fry's son, Brian, and Jim Thompson, of course, TSN, Vice President, and Rick Brace, Vice President, TSN. Outclassing Vic Rauter and Linda Moore. Keith Pelly. And the fourth member of that team was?
Bruce Sparling.
Bruce Sparling, the guy in the sky.
Yeah, we had a good time at the Granite Club.
Yeah, it was fun.
I think I've got should tell everybody at the Royals in Toronto, I think I found a new member in Keith Pelly.
Yeah, he really liked the game.
Yeah, he did.
He's featuring the no backswing Kevin Martin. No roll, so Eigil will try and blank this end. Here's a look at the hack. Sure alone holding the broom. Kevin in behind, Sure. Outturn Peel he would like here.
Canada leading 1-0. Kevin Martin forced to take one in a similar situation in the first end, but not this time for Norway, as Eigil Ramsfjell gets the blank he wanted. And so when we come back, we will go to the third end of play. Kevin Martin leading by 1. Ramsfjell will have the hammer. The 91 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships.
Wake up, hey Canada, wake up. Today's on McCain Day.
What's the secret of McCain's richer tasting juice? More oranges. McCain concentrates the juice of more oranges into every can. More than Minute Maid, more than Old South. So you have a special reason to buy McCain.
You bet I do.
It's like an extra squeeze of juice in every glass. So compared to Minute Maid and Old South, you have an extra reason to drink McCain.
You bet I do.
Wake up to McCain.
From the Wild West to the mean streets, Clint Eastwood has enforced his own style of law. Now you can own his greatest movies with the Clint Eastwood collection from Time Life Video. As a gritty cop or gunslinging renegade, Clint delivers non-stop action and some of the most famous one-liners in screen history.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Start your collection with the outlaw Josie Wales for just $4.99 plus shipping and handling. Part philosopher.
Diane ain't much of a living, boy.
Part sharpshooter. Josie goes out for revenge.
And you gotta get mean. I mean plumb mad dog mean.
Other videos include Hang 'em High, plus Dirty Harry and Magnum Force. There's no commitment or minimum number to buy, and you keep only the videos you want. So call now for the outlaw Josie Wales. Here's how to order.
To order your Clint Eastwood video cassette, call 1-800-354-3800. That's 1-800-354-3800. Or send just $4.99 plus $4 shipping and handling to Clint Eastwood Collection, P.O. Box 600, Station R, Toronto, Ontario.
Welcome to the Hogline Inn, the party place for these World Curling Championships. It's in a warehouse, a 100,000 square foot warehouse about 2 blocks north of the Winnipeg Arena. And there is the wife of Kevin Martin and their young son. That's Shauna and Carrick.
Well, there's been a very exciting move as far as Eigil Ramsfjell is concerned. He's ignoring the stone in the rings, and he's going after Canada by putting up the corner guards.
Well, this is a very common play by everyone that knows the game. The first stone that Kevin played down here after Eigil had blanked the end was he wanted it in the top of the 8 or the top of the 4 foot. It slipped behind the tee line, so it can definitely be used later on to freeze up to. But the first thing Eigil will do is try and get something going on the edges of the sheet, and he'll throw up a corner guard. He's done that once, and he's going to do it again. If Kevin peels all those corner guards off, then you'll see Mr. Ramsfjell come back to the stone and freeze to the one that's sitting behind the tee line.
The Norwegian lead, Morten Skau. Linda Ray, we just want to tell everybody that in the other semifinal, the USA and Scotland blanked the second end, so it remains Scotland 1, USA nothing, and Steve Brown of Madison does have last rock playing 3.
Eigil went to the other side this time. He's trying to mix it up a little bit. Kevin's going to just scoot up there and run it off. And they peel these very well. Canada up 1-0, playing 3. Norway with the hammer. And Petrick out-turn peel. Coming right into your living room. That's how it's done. Look at the action on the stone when it makes contact.
Yeah, it really explodes off the face of the stone, doesn't it?
One more corner, I think he said. Hand on hip.
Fjarund. He sells radio advertising time in Oslo.
Godt han som kommer litt lenger ut. Skal han opp litt lenger ut.
I really enjoy wrapping the tongue around some of those arms.
Dude, I wasn't
going
to say a word this time.
I'm going to miss this now. You know, use of the Emmy. I'm going to say that for weeks.
Who is the Austrian skip, Vic?
Traudl Koudelka.
You love that one, dude.
Traudl, yeah.
Okay, so.
Big hole. That's a good look at it. You can see the slide path down the center of the sheet. You get a good look at it from that low angle. And now the freeze. We tried 4 corner guards, Linda? 3 or 4. and they didn't work, and they were split off, so now Eigil will try to freeze to the back stone.
Yeah, there were 3 attempts, and we saw how well Canada can peel at the Brier and also all week here.
Fin retning. Starta bra. Kom igjen, kom igjen! Kom igjen! Litt lang. Litt lang. Ja, kom igjen, på vei over. Kom igjen! Og vekk. Veksel.
Not quite the freeze, little tap back. We talked about the latest or the newest statistic in curling, and that is plus minus. If you outcurl your player at equal position by more than 5%, you get a +1. Your opponent receives a -1, and they do this for every game you play. And so we'll show you how the two teams, Norway and Canada, match up heading into the semifinal. This will be the first stone for the Canadian third. Kevin Park playing the third. 1-0 Canada leading Norway with last rock.
Yep. Falling. Come on. Right up. Quick.
That clears everything out of there.
Sure does. Kevin Park. All right, here's Norway and Canada's numbers. Well, look at this. Only 1 separating the 2 leads. Boy, oh boy, Nicholas Jarund has struggled, obviously. Kevin Park out curling Sherloon, and only 1 point separating the 2 skips. Big difference when you add it all up. It's that -4, though, that hurts Norway significantly. Nicholas Jarund.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that then, just to see, you know, if Nicholas picks his game up a bit here. But otherwise, he'll be outcurled, and if any member of your team is outcurled by its opposition member, then you really put your team in trouble. And it happens on a regular basis. And Linda talked about this morning, and I think it's worth repeating this afternoon, is that you know, those front-end curlers, to set an end up, you have to make those shots. When you're asked for a corner guard, you have to make it. When you're asked for a center line guard, you have to make it. Otherwise, the skips can't get anything going for themselves. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. It's Nicholas Jarnd playing against Dan Petrick. The opposing second. Watch your footing. The 2/3, of course, Kevin Park against Sherloon.
Kevin Martin was using the corn broom. He was actually sweeping back into the rock, and that's the only time I've heard anybody object to his sweeping all week, is when he aims the straw towards the rock and basically is pushing the straw under the rock to slow it down. In that case, it was not a big factor.
Norberg, the skip of Sweden, gave it a good run, losing the semifinal to Canada and Julie Sutton 6-4.
She's quite a curler, I'll tell you. Was a little surprised at maybe one of her calls, that 9th end, and then when she left that center rock on the center line.
Yeah. We thought if she could hit and just roll half in front of the Canadian stone, she'd start to set up a big end. She still had a chance with her last one.
Oh, yes.
There. Kevin Martin and the first stone for the Canadian skip, playing this 3rd end. Canada leading 1-0.
Safeway.
They have to sweep that very much. These rocks are sliding, and I'll have to be careful as the game progresses to keep an eye on that 4-foot stretch down the center of the sheet.
The biggest concern of many people about Eigil Ramsfjell heading into this World Championship was his desire. Was the fire still burning to win another World Championship? And he's proven this week that yes, it is. And the shooter will just hold on to the 12.
It's a great roll, isn't it?
Way out into the frost. They've had a couple over curl there, though. Getting a lot of movement on that in-turn.
This will be the final stone for Kevin Martin and his Canadian rink. Norway with last rock here in the third.
Clean. Clean. That's good. Shot.
And he'll sit right there.
Another guy afraid to throw the upturn there. You're not alone.
Well, we talked about how the ice might float a little bit from outside in.
That's right.
That's why they're playing this turn.
Kevin Park said to Kevin Martin, another guy afraid to throw that outturn out there. Especially when this in-turn runs so true, then there's no need to. He's narrowing up a little bit. He's going to try and catch it coming across the face to get the blank that way, but
Eigil Ramsfjell, blanked end number 2, will try and do the same right here.
Andre veien. Kom igjen. Kom igjen.
on the high side. Too far to roll. Too far to roll.
It is too far. It'll stop at the back of the 12, and Norway will be forced to take one here in end number 3. Tying this game with Canada 1-1 as we go to the 4th, and Kevin Martin and his Canadian rink will have last rock. Now we want to update the game. The other men's semifinal between the USA and Scotland as they play the third end. Scotland leading 1-0. Scotland, David Smith got his one in the first. The U.S. blanked the second end. And now this will be the final stone for the American skip, Steve Brown of Madison, as he plays the draw against one Scottish stone sitting behind a corner guard covering the edge of the 8-foot. And so he'll need full 8 to pick up his one.
David Smith just rolled out, or he would have been sitting 2. But the come around by Scotland earlier in this end has forced the U.S. to take their point.
He's okay, Dust. Come on. Easy.
Full 8-foot, top 4, and he draws a piece of the button. Steve Brown in a 1-1 tie with Scotland. The 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships. And that trophy will go to the men's world champion.
The acclaimed PBS series on the Civil War is now available on home video cassette from Time Life Video. The reviews are overwhelming.
If better use has ever been made of television, I have not seen it. A video miracle. Magnificent.
5 years in the making, the Civil War brings to life the most devastating conflict in our nation's history.
It's the Lonesome Dove of documentaries.
It's the complete story of the war as told through the eyes of those who lived it. Call now, and we'll deliver your first episode for just $19.95 plus shipping and handling. Watch as a massive Union army meets Robert E. Lee and his rebels at Gettysburg to wage this legendary battle. The Civil War.
Call now. Use your credit card and call toll-free for your first episode on the Battle of Gettysburg for just $19.95 plus shipping and handling. Future videos will arrive about every other month. There's no commitment to buy. Cancel anytime.
The thrills and excitement of NBA basketball are on TSN. Tension from division rivals and top teams on television's best basketball schedule keep you at the hoop. TSN takes you courtside for action only the NBA provides. It's a Western showdown in San Antonio. The Nuggets have nothing to lose, so they'll be going all out to cut down the offense of the high-flying San Antonio Spurs. The Nuggets and the Spurs, Saturday, 8:30 Eastern. It's the NBA on TSN.
Springtime in Winnipeg. We're here for the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships. It even looks like spring. Easter weekend. We hope you're enjoying your holiday weekend with us here at the World Curling Championships as we go to the fourth end of play. Norway and Canada in the men's semifinal, tied 1-1, and Canada will have last rock.
Well, the roles have reversed. Kevin Martin with last rock, throwing up a corner guard. Now, we saw Kevin Martin, when Eigil was doing this, run them off. And there's a little conversation now from skip to second, and Eigil, as opposed to running them off, is drawing to the open side. He feels that that rock is a little too far over.
He may also feel that that is not the strength of his team. We know Kevin Martin's team are great at peeling those rocks off. Eigil may feel that it's better, it's safer perhaps to draw in than have a miss on that front rock.
Du ligger nå strå igjen her nå på slutten. Vært ute og bry meg. Ja, jeg vet det.
See.
Der er det. Kom igjen, kom igjen, kom igjen, kom igjen. Kom igjen.
Well, lots of movement. I think Nicholas must have got a little outside on that because we were holding the broom about just over the edge of the center line, and halfway down he was well over the center line.
Dan Petrick.
Clean it. Hurry. Hard. Keep going. Good boy. Great shot.
Holds on, T-line, edge of the 12.
They've been playing on the edges of this sheet a lot. These are great rolls they're getting.
Terrific rolls. Obviously now, if Eigil rolls out, Kevin gets a chance to go in behind that corner guard he put up. Try and roll it back to the 8-foot. Full 12.
We've had great crowds all week, and yes, they're watching from down here, and yes, they are watching from way up here.
All right.
Hello, everybody up there in the balconies here at the Winnipeg Arena.
Terrific crowd.
Easy, easy, easy. Just clean.
What happened to be the guys who hit and roll out? That hurts.
We were talking about the plus-minus between the seconds. Nicholas Jarund has not missed a shot yet. So at this point in the game, he's actually outperforming the Canadian second, which is a reverse of what had been happening over the course of the round robin.
Drift away.
Well, Eigil's going to run this corner guard off now, Lou. Outside in, sure alone. His out turn.
Oh, there we can see how it drifts in that spot. He got it out a little wide. outside, and it would never come back.
That's what they were talking about when they were playing down this way, Linda, about playing the outside in. Once you get them out there, they really go. Sure has a little bit of that inside-outside, too. Here it goes, and outside now. And just kind of put that one maybe away a little bit and float it to the wall. In-turn draw.
Pretty nicely here, doesn't it? Yeah.
Chance to duck behind this corner guard. That's why you put them up there. See, Eigil at the back is not very happy with that miss. Wishing to himself maybe he'd gone to the open side again, Linda.
Clean. Yeah, I thought that's why I did it earlier, because that was a tricky spot.
Hurry. What? Hard for line.
Hard for line.
Rub. Oh, wait.
Clean it. Clean it. Pull off.
Whoa. What are you doing?
We'll be all right.
Ton of room. Whoa. I got a foot room there. We didn't need to sweep it.
Just behind the tee line, full 12.
All kinds of stuff just
Overswept.
Still, you don't want to lose it.
Here, that guard.
This will be the second stone for the Norwegian third here in this fourth end of play and a 1-1 tie.
Sure, Lund being asked to come down to the Canadian stone and tap it a little bit if he can.
Just a little tap, enough to push it out? No.
Yes, sir.
It'll sit on the edge of the 12-foot. And the Norwegian shooter rolls into the open at the biting the back of the 8.
Oh, here. Down weight race.
You get hungry running up those stairs to get those shots from the balcony. While you're there, Alf, can you get us all one here? We didn't get a chance to eat anything.
Well, Eigil was a little annoyed at the weight, Linda. He had a little discussion from a distance with Shure, and then called him down and said, you know, we were just basically drawing there, and I guess that's what he's saying. I mean, I don't have any knowledge of Norwegian, but...
Well, it's critical to stay in front of that stone, because now they allow Canada to split their rocks, separate them in the house, and avoid a double takeout.
Off. Clean. Off. Clean. Hurry.
Trying to get them separated.
What?
Great shot. Eigil will try and get a little rollover and behind the corner himself. Force Kevin to come down into that area, and then possibly he can sit on top of it and take the extra point away. The one thing that Ramsfjell knows is that if this Kevin Martin team gets away on you,
no.
They are tough cats to catch.
Skip stones in this fourth, the first from Eigil Ramsfjell.
Outside in, his out turn. Trying to watch how this runs.
The hit and the roll, and the shooter will spill out the back.
Did you go for 3 here, Linda?
Well, it's tempting. That rock is way back at the back of the 12-foot.
No, I just go for the solid 2.
No, he says, let's just get the solid 2.
Okay, we've got to have T-line at least or a little back of it.
Okay. What we're talking about is if you're going to try for 3, what you're doing is coming around this guard here and trying to get it right into that area there and possibly setting up 3, because this rock here would cover both of those stones now. But what he says, no, let's get the solid 2, so he'll draw over to this side here into the 8-foot area and then try and exchange rocks for the 2 points.
Hurry, hard.
Kevin Martin and his first stone.
Hard, fell a little bit. Come on.
Careful. Okay. Where is it?
going in and trying for three, Vic, is that, you know, if you don't make it properly, you could set up the double. For example, if you try to go behind that corner guard and you don't get it buried, then Norway gets a chance at making the double and getting out of the situation. By going to the other side, you can if you can exchange stones, you can absolutely set up your 2 points. And 2 points for this team from Alberta is a big lead.
Now, Kevin Park said to Kevin Martin, if he tries to freeze here, he may give up 3. There's no thought that he's going to try to play the freeze here.
Definitely not.
No, he's just going to hit it. He'd like to stay in the rings for a shot rock to force Canada to play the hit rather than an open draw.
Oh. Second stone for Eigil Ramsfjell. Got the corner. Will the shooter hang around? It will too. It'll live on the edge of the 12.
It's actually, Linda, the very best roll he could get, because now Kevin Martin can't roll too far with either the, to this turn. If he rolls too far, towards the boards, of course, he could roll out and only get the single, so he's got to hit this perfectly. So actually hit roll to the best spot for Eigil.
The ice seems quite straight so far. Eigil's having a little bit of trouble with those hits.
For 2 for Canada and Kevin Martin. Final stone of the 4th end.
He's got to curl a little bit here, Linda.
Going to lose the shooter. Is it going to roll too far? Is he going to lose it? He will, out the back. And so a missed opportunity for Canada and Martin to score 2. They'll take 1. And not a very happy looking Kevin Martin. He eluded 2-1 over Norway. When we come back, 5th end here on TSN.
It's winter. Let the games begin. When the games are through, it's time for a blue. Labatt's blue. It's the way we play.
Okay, work with me now, people, okay? See this name, Goodyear? What do you think of when you see this name? Tires. See, that's what I mean. For years, we've been doing tune-ups. Thank you, Gord, son of the owner. Tune-ups, under the hood work, but still, when we say Goodyear, you say... Tires. Come on, work with me on this.
From tune-ups to tires, Goodyear takes you home.
Goodyear does tune-ups. This is not a big reach. Pretty clear. Hello, Ralph.
Imagine visiting yourself in the future.
Hi.
Hi.
You're me.
Mm-hmm.
We're us.
25 years later.
How are we?
Fine.
We living down here?
Winters, yeah.
How can we afford it?
Freedom 55. Freedom 55. Protection today, plus a financial program that works, so one day you won't have to. Freedom 55. Talk to a London Life representative.
That'll be for you.
Key shots of the 4th end. Well, one of them, certainly this one. It's the stone of the Canadian 3rd. Kevin Park. The corner guard, and he uses it perfectly. As he'll draw the 12-foot. And in fact, he gets tapped to the edge of the 12-foot with a Norwegian stone, and then looking for the hit and stick for 2. Kevin Martin with his final stone to the 4th, and may not seem big now, but you never know. By the end of the game, if you happen to lose it, you may look back and say, remember that chance we had for 2. Martin gets 1. Canada leads 2-1 as we go to the 5th end of play. And glad that you're with us, everyone. Vic Roeder, Linda Moore, Ray Turnbull, and our entire TSN curling crew. Semifinal action from the Canada Safeway World Curling Championships at the Winnipeg Arena.
Yeah, you're right, Vic. We'll bank our thoughts on that single point, that extra point, because, you know, come 8 and 9 and 10, and you miss those opportunities, those points could make a big, big difference.
In the other men's semifinal, the United States and Scotland playing very cleanly as well. They blanked the fourth end. It remains a 1-1 tie, Scotland and the USA. And Scotland, David Smith of Perth with last rock as they play the fifth end. And there they are, 2 sheets over, playing on the center sheet here at the Winnipeg Arena. That sheet is C, and we are on sheet E.
There's the Canadian stone just sitting just outside the rings. That is not a biter. I don't believe that's a biter. And Norway threw up the corner guard. Big crowd here, but really nothing so far to cheer about. So it's been a very defensive game. Kevin Martin, as you just saw, running off and peeling off the corner guard that Eigil Ramsfjell put up. Ramsfjell will probably put up another one, and looking for a nose hit. What you're doing is looking for something out in front, so your opposition will maybe hit them on the nose, stay someplace out in front, and you can go behind them to make those shots more difficult, the following shots more difficult, and set up scoring the extra point. The team with last rock, of course, theoretically has a single point already in their pocket.
Nicholas Jarund puts up the corner.
Sorry.
I think we're going to see a lot of peeling from the inside out, Ray, just because of the few times we've seen the rocks float with that other turn. And it's something that people can learn a lot from. If you're having trouble with one turn, no matter what you normally play, you may have to switch to the other turn.
Dan Petrick.
Roll it. Come on, come on.
And it makes it harder to peel because you got to roll right across the sheet when you play that way.
Come on, hurry.
But boy, oh boy, look at the action on those stones. And
good sweeping.
All right, sir. I would suspect a good deal of that roll that far is due to the fact that they put so much turn on their stones.
Yeah, absolutely. They have they put lots of handle on it, so they get good action. And just to go back to our thought here, Eigil Ramsfjell will definitely play his corner guards now on that side of the sheet, knowing that Kevin Martin, and he would be the same, of course, because he showed that in, you know, in the first end. We'll have to play them with the intern, as you mentioned, Linda. So you do have to roll them right across, and hopefully he's hoping that in just in one attempt to peel it off, they don't get the roll. Any help for us in this Norwegian tongue, Vic? You've been pretty fancy all week with your Swiss German and your Deutsch.
Not very much Norwegian, although some things are similar, and you can pick them out too, Linda Ray, as well, huh?
I spent part of last summer with Eigil and his wife. My husband and I and Eigil and Ulrika Ramsfjell spent some time in Switzerland at a curling camp. And when Ulrika and Eigil speak together, they speak Norwegian, of course. And I would try to pick up some words, but I wasn't very good at it.
Kevin Park. And the first stone for the Canadian third, playing this fifth end. Canada leading 2-1. Norway with last rock. Good.
That rock jumped right over the ropes. Well, let's try the other side, Eigil says. There's another stone there, so maybe you can get a little break and get a squirt off it or something. Linda?
The Norwegian third, Sjurlund. The 32-year-old is the marketing manager for the Credit Bank of Norway.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen in curling. In 1974, Hector Gervais was there as a skip representing Canada, and Sjurlund was there as a skip representing Norway. He was 15 years old, and there's a picture, a very famous picture now in curling, and he's Heck standing there, and Sjur beside him, and sure came to about his hip.
That's amazing.
He was a skinny little kid from the northern part of Norway. There he is, backup commentator Hector Vey.
In Canada, of course, you have to be 19 to be able to play at the men's level, but many other countries do allow younger players to compete in the men's championships.
I know that I got a note from Marco Ferrero, who does our color commentating for RDS, and he was saying he thinks that's one rule that should change, is that no matter what the age, you should be allowed to play in this event if you're good enough to win your way there. And so he said his analogy is that what was more exciting than Wayne Gretzky when he broke into, into hockey as a young superstar.
Split the teeth, split the teeth.
There's Hector in a few years past, a few pounds less.
1961.
Hope he didn't hear that.
A superstar in his own right, Hector Vey.
Well, Kevin ignored the corner guard that Eigil threw up and played to the open side. So there's a little chance here for the Norwegian Sjurlone to get the hit and the roll across the rings.
Yep, Smith. Yep, there. Come in. Right.
On the nose.
Now we obviously haven't seen the number of rocks in play in this game as we saw really in either of the women's semifinals. Is it just the way they're playing, or are they not been able to take advantage?
No, just the way they're playing. Also, the men have a little more ability, let's put it this way, I don't know if it's more ability or not, but they do have a tendency, I guess is the proper way of putting it, to throw more weight. So they do peel with a little more ease than some of the ladies' teams.
And I think also we've seen today that these teams want to keep it fairly open. I think on the ladies, in the two ladies games, they weren't afraid to put up some guards, and the team that was playing against the team that was putting up the guards started to come around them. These fellows are a little afraid to give up more than 1 point per end because, as Ray said, the other team can peel so well. They can hold that lead.
There you saw the time remaining for Canada. Each rink, each team getting 75 minutes to complete their game.
That's interesting, your comment quickly there is that, we do have a tendency sometimes to refer to the teams as rinks. That's an old habit, Vic. I do the same thing myself, and it's something you have to be careful about because it's confusing to some people that don't curl or don't play the game, and in particular to the Europeans. I know in Japan this year, I talked about our rink, and they thought I was referring to the building. And
I do it too.
I do it as well. It's just an old phrase that we use, and we don't mean to. And you are pretty old.
I was going to say.
You're no spring chicken,
I was waiting. I was waiting.
Well, in Europe, they call the club the actual group of people that play in the building. It's what we would call the league. And we call our club the building. So there are a lot of different terms as you go around the world.
Looking for the roll again, Linda.
Eigil Ramsfjell makes the hit and stick, biting the top of the 8-foot.
Ho hum so far, to be honest, but great execution. No one is criticizing the execution by both teams. It's just like the cat waiting for the mouse, ready to pounce.
In the 5th end. Norway with last rock. And the shooter will roll inside. And so once again, Norway will look to hit and blank this 5th end.
Must be a little frustrating for Eigil because he's had the guards up this end, but he wasn't able to generate other ends, and they just couldn't get the roll.
one stone in play, fighting the top of the 8-foot. That belongs to Canada. And Kevin Martin leading 2-1 over Norway as we get ready for the final stone of this 5th end from the Norwegian skip, Eigil Ramsfjell.
Well, if Eigil should happen to blank this, it'll have a 2-1 Canada game, and in the other game, Scotland 2, USA 1 after 5. So identical scores, not very much to shout about for these 12,500 people.
And let's just show you then how Scotland made it 2-1 at going to the 5th end break. Missed the final stone for David Smith of Scotland after the U.S. skip Steve Brown had made a terrific draw around a couple of corner guards. It left nothing for David Smith and his rink from Perth to do but draw for their single point. And he'll bite the blue for 1, and as they take their 5th end break, it is Scotland 2, the USA 1. Men's semifinals at the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships, and Canada is leading.
At the end of March, one of the most prestigious winter sports events in the world will be taking place in Western Canada. The Canada Safeway World Curling Championships at the Winnipeg Arena. The event brings together the top men's and women's competitors in the game and is indeed a proud moment for us all.
On behalf of our 22,000 employees in Western Canada, Canada Safeway is pleased to have been able to bring this fine event to the Canadian prairies.
You've seen the fastest, most powerful aircraft in the world. Now, Time Life Video and Aviation Week put you in the cockpit with Air Power, the video library that lets you feel the thrust of taking off and the exhilaration of breaking the sound barrier. You'll tackle high G's as you pitch out and roll in a Tomcat and push the edge of the envelope on combat missions where there's no room for error. Call now to order your first tape, Flight Deck, for the special price of $14.99. Fly Mach 2 with F-14 fighter pilots considered to be the best of the best. Other volumes will follow about every 6 weeks for the regular price. Get an inside look at all of today's state-of-the-art aircraft. Call now for the best in aviation video, the Air Power Video Library. Roger that now.
To order Flight Deck Video, use your credit card and call 1-800-624-4900 or send just $14.99 plus $4 shipping to Flight Deck, P.O. Box 600, Station R, Toronto, Ontario.
National Sports Center. For your sport, count on the lowest prices on equipment. For your problem, count on a hassle-free return policy. For your needs, count on a great selection. Like the Nike Air 180. Nike, first to introduce air technology. Now they introduce the evolution of the revolution. The Nike Air 180. Who said first wasn't best? National Sports Center. Count on total customer satisfaction. It's guaranteed.
Canada leading Norway 2-1 here in the men's semifinal of the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships. And a reminder to stay with us right after the game for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by National Trust. Just some of the crowd on hand here at the Winnipeg Arena for this men's semifinal, and they must be from the Northwest Territories. I don't think the Bear counts in this attendance of 11,971, and a Bear for a total of 214 plus.
And a Bear.
And a Bear. I can just see it now. Next time we'll have 214 and a Bear attendance.
Boy, that's some nice things. We come back in after the break like that.
Yeah, very nice.
Randy, our still store operator, does just a great job getting that stuff. Beautiful, beautiful.
Interesting comment.
Dan Petrick, because we were listening to them during the fifth end break, said if we would have gotten 2 in that fourth, when Kevin Martin rolled out, he thought that that would be enough for Canada to win. And we have seen them run. As we take a look at the Norwegian women's rink of Dordy Nordby of Oslo, as they relax a little bit after winning their game and clinching a spot in the women's championship final against Canada and Julie Sutton. The Norwegians beating Scotland in the women's semi earlier today. The sixth end of play is underway, Linda, and this is Don Bartlett.
Of course, they're cheering on Eigil Ramsfjell. Eigil coached them last year after he was out of contention at the end of the round robin, and he coached them to a world championship victory, and I'm sure they'd like to see him come through today. And it was interesting to listen to that Canadian team lament about that missed opportunity, because they really feel if they can get 2 points when they have last rock, they can take this game.
Well, isn't this nice? Earlier, if you were with us, you saw Don Bartlett, Dan Petrick running the flags for Julie Sutton during her game, and now the Sutton sisters are returning the favor, running the Canadian flags around the Winnipeg Arena.
Something I learned last night that I didn't know, Linda, is that there's a fair amount of money involved in the game for the Norwegians in particular. I didn't really realize it had gone that far, but this team could receive as much as $40,000 or $50,000 each, around depending on how they finish. If they finish in, if they win a European championship or they win a world championship, it's different levels. I didn't realize that till last night, till I sat and talked to some of the Norwegian people. There's a new government funding for people that do well in international, first of all national, then international events, and then world events. And so there's a fair amount of money involved as well for the Norwegians in particular if they happen to win this. Something I didn't know.
Don Bartlett. I think we talked earlier in the week about if and when curling is ever accepted by the Olympics, how that will change the sport in terms of sponsorship and how they'll be funded by different sports federations.
And I think it's something we in Canada have to remember, that perhaps it won't see a big change in our game, but it will be a dramatic change in other countries if we do get full medal status in the Olympics.
Is your merch? Up there? My boys will send the other one down, but I guess they forgot in 20 seconds. Glemte du kosten, eller? Okay.
Well, the Norwegians looking for anything to hide behind. Not much more we can say. If you remember the third end, well, you're looking at it here in the sixth end. It's kind of a replay.
The Canadian second is Dan Petrick.
I know how much you two love my statistics, so
yes, we do.
One more. Sort of interesting, I was looking at these bonus shots that they give players. Great numbers for Nicholas there. And the bonus point is, the shot is normally scored out of 4. And you can get a bonus if you make a great shot. And there's an interesting number of statistics too. But the bonus shots are normally for a skip if they make a great shot. If they make a game-winning shot, they can actually get 2 bonus points, that is 6 instead of the 4. So I took a rundown on the 5-point shots, and Kevin Martin, the Canadian skip, had 2 of those types of shots where he got a bonus point. Eigil Ramsfjell of Norway had 3 of those great big shots. But Sjur Lund, the third for Norway, actually had one of those bonus shots. Then I looked down the list, and what really amazed me is that there was actually a couple of leads that were given bonus shots, and you don't normally see that, but there has been great curling here all week, and even Leeds have been making the big shots to set up the ends for their teams.
Well, that's why you play a corner guard, ladies and gentlemen, is you put a rock out in front, hoping for a nose hit or a miss. And we've just seen a miss. It's on the side of the sheet that they should know the ice very well. It's a chance for Norway to get in behind and possibly pick up their deuce.
Let's remember back, this is Nicholas Yearund. When we looked at the plus-minus statistics earlier, he was a -4 coming into this game, which indicated he may have been the weak link of this team. And now, as we saw, he's curling 100% so far.
Well, he's certainly turned it up a notch, hasn't he? But this is the shot he has to make here, Vic. You got to make these come arounds, and you have to bury these, sink them. Well, he got by the front rock by about 6 inches. It's just not moving, Linda. The movement seemed to be over a little further.
It did, because that's the same spot Kevin Martin threw his takeout trying to stay for 2, and he said he didn't throw it perfectly, but it did even seem to float back towards center with that turn.
Talk a little bit about Nicholas Yearund again. The fact that maybe the -4 a little unfair for him when you consider some of the minuses he got, because some of the other players really played maybe the games of their lives. He lost at an 80% and 89%. His worst game was his 3rd game and his 4th when he was in the 60s.
Good point.
Yeah, they are interesting numbers because he's played consistently well, it seems, but as Vic says, some players have come up big in the games against Norway.
Well, a chance for Norway kind of slipped away, but no fault of Nicholas. He just didn't move. He had the perfect weight. Roll the other way, Kevin says. Get it away from there. It may be, Linda, that the only way you can get behind this then is to roll there.
Live on, live on.
Talking about the weight.
The Norwegian 3rd, this is sure learn. Let me ask you something. And now, I mean, we talked about it earlier. This sheet of ice next to the crowd looks nothing like the sheet of ice that the Canadian women played on in terms of curl path. It looks a lot frostier. Is that why it may be a little straighter?
You're saying this one looks a lot frostier than the
Well,
the
it
other
doesn't
one?
have the same kind of gleam to it when I look over at sheet A where the women played earlier today. It doesn't have that kind of look to it, and I'm wondering if that's maybe a reason.
Well, we haven't seen quite as much movement, but we have, you know, to be honest, Vic, it's really hard for Lynn and I to make a comment on it because we haven't seen anything played around the center line at all.
Okay.
Did I get out of that okay?
So everything's being played to the edges, you see?
Yeah, most of the play has been on the edges, and we've been talking about that.
And we haven't seen a lot of attempts to come around guards. I was mentioning earlier in the ladies' games, it seemed no matter who put up the guard, somebody would go around it, and we get a good idea of all the different paths and how much it curled. There's only been maybe the one corner guard in this position that it's in now that we've tried to see a rock come around.
Kevin Park. There's the hit, the roll, and too far and out the side. The front end of Dan Petrick.
What?
One of the nose hit.
No, they called it either or.
Don Bartlett, the communication between the two, and we have a microphone on the Canadian second, Dan Petrick.
Well, another chance. So we'll get a chance to see whether, you know, how it runs this time, Linda, because it's the second time we've seen this in turn. The first one ran pretty straight. He got by the front guard by about 6 inches and didn't curl. So let's watch this one closely. This is really curling. He started. He must have.
It looked to me like he did, and I was wondering if he was intending to give it a little bit of a roll with the hand to get it to move in that spot.
This makes it tough on Eigil. Now we'll be able to maybe answer your question a little better now, Vic, because this is really the first come around, Linda, I think we've seen over here in the center ice area. So we knew you were trying to trick us, but we'll be able to answer right now.
I'm just looking at the different,
I
different
know.
sheets.
Trying to be funny.
No, I realize that.
Maybe not working, but
It's the delivery, timing. Timing and delivery is everything.
Sort of like in the curling.
Yes, exactly.
Kevin Martin doesn't like to feel something under the running surface, 5-inch running surface.
This will be his first stone here in this 6th end of play.
Close. Nice. Warm. Warm.
Warm. Communication.
Stay off. We're warm. Right off. Back ring. Oh. Touch it.
He wants this one short. He doesn't want to be behind the tee line.
Oh, steady.
It's moving now, Linda. Look, there's the movement.
Great movement.
Just too deep. Not bad, but a little too deep.
Never mind.
Well, the only thing about this, Eigil Ramsfjell must make this shot or he will be in deep trouble. Gets to the center line, misses the front one by about 4 inches. Now watch it move across now. It walked right over there. Almost snuck out the backside.
And just behind the tee line, holding on to the back of the 4.
Now they never laid a brush on that. He threw that there himself. Did you have a watch on it, Luke?
Yeah, I got about 24.5 seconds.
So it's a little quicker today, eh?
Keen down the middle. You have to be very careful you don't oversweep these.
Eigil Ramsfjell and his first stone. He's trailing 2-1. Playing the 6th, and he has last rock.
This is his biggest shot in the game right here.
It's hanging a lot longer.
It's got a lot more weight,
yeah,
too.
I think it does.
And it'll slip to the back of the 8.
Well, it's a golden opportunity. The first real opportunity we've had in this game.
Don't let this pick up anything, eh?
To put some pressure on the Norwegian.
He's got nothing here. He's got nothing on that side at all.
There's absolutely nothing on the outside.
Don't want it here, he'll make the double on us. Oh, okay. Yeah, right there. Where's the ice here? A little less.
You heard Kevin Park say he's got nothing out here. There's absolutely nothing out here at all. His first indication was to come right into this area here, behind this guard here. But he said, look, there's nothing wrong with this right in here.
Canada looking to steal the point that they missed on the chance they had earlier. The hit stay for 2.
The line.
This would be that second point.
And boy, if they get this steal, and if you believe Dan Petrick, 3-1 lead could be enough for Canada.
How is it?
We'll see a lot of appeals if he steals the point here.
Hurry!
We're there.
Come on!
They're trying to bring it to get it to curl. There's an opening right now.
Come on, 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 keep it going, good.
It stayed out there too, Linda. There's still a hole there. I think there's still a hole. Oh, yeah. They wanted the stone here to be right about here. That would have been fine. Would have left Eigil the long, the wide. Now there's the hole, so he'll try and slide it through here, just like so.
Now he indicated, it seemed to anyway, Ray, Linda, that he might. Is there a possibility of tapping that stone back for 2, or is he just playing in for his 1?
I don't know about you, Lynn, but I think he'd be awful happy for 1 here.
Yeah, he's playing for the sure 1. The last one hung out a lot longer, so he's taken less ice. He could almost throw the same weight and make that tap with sweeping, but they have to score here.
The final stone, 6th end, Canada leading 2-1. Eigil Ramsfjell needs full 4.
Watch the center line now. It's got to come some.
He's got to get it through the port. Got to get it by that Canadian stone. Is it by?
No, sir.
No, it's going to wreck in front.
That's a little too much weight, I think, Linda.
And Canada steals 1 here, and Eigil Ramsfjell
Okay, work with me now, people, okay? See this name, Goodyear? What do you think of when you see this name? Tires. See, that's what I mean. For years, we've been doing tune-ups. Thank you, Gord, son of the owner. Tune-ups, under the hood work, but still, when we say Goodyear, you say... Tires. Come on, work with me on this.
From tune-ups to tires, Goodyear takes you home.
Goodyear does tune-ups. This is not a big reach. Pretty clear. Set, fight.
Why does one person excel above all others? Is it motivation, raw talent, desire? Is it personal satisfaction, intelligence, luck? There's no magic formula, and there's really no secret. But there is Soliflex. Because Soliflex is designed and engineered with one thing in mind, your body's needs. And we've created the finest, most complete, and simplest system to attain those needs. With Soliflex, the reward is yours. For a free brochure, call anytime.
Sixth end, maybe the end to remember. Here in this men's semifinal, Kevin Martin with his first stone makes the draw around the center guard and stops at the back of the four. And then after, when Kevin Martin with his second stone didn't properly put on the second guard, it left the opportunity for Eigil Ramsfjell to possibly draw through and get his 1 point. But he upped the weight on his final stone, and he wrecked in front. Canada steals one to take a 3-1 lead, and it may be all over for Eigil Ramsfjell now, considering the way Kevin Martin can peel stones. We're at the Winnipeg Arena for the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships here on TSN.
There really hasn't been a lot for these people to cheer about. That was kind of an exciting end, but you're going to see a lot of peeling now. So you're looking at a team that's as good as anybody doing it. Kevin Martin will try to keep everything clean. He'll hit everything in sight.
The other semifinal is being played just as cleanly. Blanks in the sixth end now as well, and it remains 2-1 Scotland over the USA.
The interesting thing about that other game, Scotland leading by 1 point. The U.S. team is playing 90% as a team average, and the Scottish team 80%.
I think this is one of the reasons why there's so much discussion about the free guard zone rule. You take a look at, there's been 12 ends of curling played, 6 on sheet C, which is the USA-Scotland game, and 6 on our sheet, and there's been a total of 7 points scored in that 12 ends. So that's the thing that people are, are just, there's a lot of skill involved, a great deal of skill involved in the hitting and running and peeling, and those kind of things, but there's not very much excitement when it comes to, the game of curling from an offensive point of view. So there's a huge crowd here, in the neighborhood of 12,000 people, and they really haven't had anything to shout about other than the fact that the flag bearers are running around the track. That was a little bit of an exciting end, and a good end played by Canada by getting a stone in there, but
Eigil had his chances,
he sure
and he was
did,
heavy twice. The first one was a big miss because it allowed Canada to try and put up the guard, and when the guard wasn't put up, he had another chance to come back with a draw.
And he was definitely heavy on his last one because he was just drawing. I would have thought he was just drawing, and just not sharp. Well, you're going to see a lot of this now, naturally, and rightly so, by the way. No one's No one's suggesting for one moment that Kevin Martin shouldn't be doing this. He certainly should be doing it. He can, because what the key here is to win the game. And there's a good look at a peeling shot. Big weight, lots of handle, lots of action when it makes contact.
Kevin Park.
Seventh end, 3-1 Canada lead. Seventh end on the other game, 2-1 Scotland lead.
All good.
The Norwegian third, Sjurlund, puts up the tight corner guard.
Well, Sure really missed the key shot on that end, I feel, Linda, because he had a chance to go around the corner, and when he didn't get around, he must either turned it in or something, because he actually hit, then rolled to the center. It was not even close to getting around it.
And it certainly set up a better end for Canada with a hit and roll to the center line position.
Kevin Park, see the rotation on the stone?
That almost made the peel by the wind blowing the rock out of the way. That was going so fast.
I'm trying to hear Kevin's conversation.
No problem. You're going to have a heck of a time getting around that.
Well, Kevin Martin said to Kevin Park, they're going to have a heck of a time getting around that one. It just doesn't curl.
I thought he might try the bump up, actually, but maybe he feels that his team can get the movement in this spot.
Sjurlund would very much like to make up for that other in-turn he threw. Raised to hit the stone, the corner guard on the nose and roll to the center. This is where Kevin Martin says it's not going to curl. He may be right.
They'll take it just behind the tee line, pulling the 8.
Well, they want it behind the tee line for sure, Vic. If they can get a nose hit here, then they come down and lay on top of it. Just hack weight.
Don't grease her up unless they're screaming.
Hack weight.
Kevin Martin and the first stone for the Canadian skip, playing the 7th.
It's more than hack weight.
All right.
I would think Eigil would play the raise too, then, as you suggest, or maybe play the freeze in front of this stone right now, but he's looking hard at the come around again. The split, I don't think, is possible.
Reisen er litt virksom, for den splitten kan vi jo greie bedre enn den her hvis vi skal rulle ut en gang til. Så jeg tenker mer på dragningen.
Keeping you updated on what's going on between USA Scotland. Blank again in 7. 2-1 Scotland continues to lead. Steve Martin of Madison, and the U.S. will have last rock playing 8. Oh, sir. Steve Brown.
He still thinks he can get behind this. Linda kind of talked a little in this area here. Linda talked maybe about pushing this back, which is a good possibility, getting it buried that way. The other option, of course, is to come down and try and freeze it right in front of that one. I guess he feels it'll move for him, Linda, because he's gone back to the same in-turn come around.
It was starting to bend at the end when Sjurlund threw his draw. Maybe he feels that They were a little bit full of the broom on that last one, and if he throws it right, it will start to curl.
God plass. God plass. Kom igjen! 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 Kom igjen!
The shooter gets there.
Well, he had the line, but
He just doesn't know how to get the rocks there. That one may be a little bit light, and it pulled over faster, racked on the guard. Last end, he was a little heavy.
I guess about 6 feet more weight on that, or 4 feet more weight, Linda, and he may have got that. He would have got that by and at least partially buried.
Kevin Martin and his final stone here in the 7th, leading 3-1.
Wait for it.
He wants to hope that Kevin rolls out here.
Sit down!
Oh, yes.
It's a great shot. He forces Norway to draw for one. I don't think the split's there.
A whole bunch more than I thought I drew.
Well, he moved that rock over if it was possibly there before. I'm not sure it is now.
Well, what Linda was talking about before, the rock was there, and it was possible to play the split, pushing this one into there and the shooter over to there. But now that it's moved over, and this is what he was looking at, can I play the split it onto here? I don't think so, and roll the shooter there for two. I think it's impossible. So it's just a draw.
Suckered into Manning. No. A little tight of anything with that. Just didn't move.
Eigil Ramsfjell in his final stone here in 7.
Well, he's playing the intern, so I guess he feels maybe it's there.
The steal of one by Canada in end number 6.
He's definitely playing it. That's the range you would like to see him play earlier, Linda.
May he raise it too far. Oh, it may be over.
Over.
Canada steals 2 more here in end number 7. It's now 5-1. Kevin Martin leading the Canada Safeway World Curling Championships.
Today's events move at breakneck speed. Every week, McLean's delivers in-depth stories that tell you who's building the boundaries and who's tearing them down, who's making the money and who's paying the price, as well as who's playing dirty and who's cleaning up. Now you can get the whole story and how it affects you with this special offer. Get your first 4 issues of McLean's free and sample why it should be your reliable news source. Then keep McLean's coming for 39 more issues and enjoy insightful articles on people in the arts, science, health, and finance. For just 4 monthly payments of only $9.75. Call now, and with your paid subscription, we'll send you this personal travel bag. Its large, easy access pockets and detachable shoulder strap make it the ideal traveling companion. So call this number now, ask for the extension on your screen, and get 4 issues free, plus 39 more, and the personal travel bag bonus, all for just 4 payments of $9.75. That's 43 issues for less than half the cover price. Call and get the whole story with McLean's, the well-informed choice.
TSN is the leader in horse racing coverage. See thoroughbred horsepower move out from North America's leading tracks in harness racing events featuring the nation's top standard breds, plus complete coverage of horse racing's ultimate challenge, the Breeders' Crown Series. For horse racing coverage that's second to none. Enjoy the running of the Jim Beam Stakes, mile and an eighth, from Turfway Park in Kentucky. Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. The Jim Beam Stakes right here on TSN.
It's the most comprehensive curling coverage in Canada. And we're in Winnipeg for the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships. Well, he may just have seen his chances at a World Championship go bye-bye as Eigil Ramsfjell played the split for two and ended up raising himself right out of the game.
I don't, Dick, I tell you, flat out, the split was not there. It wasn't there. So he played a shot I don't think he could make. And he played it with split weight, and it's like giving the game away.
And with Canada leading 5-1, we're going to turn our attention now to the game between the United States and Scotland. As they play the 8th end, Scotland leading 2-1. This is the U.S. third. This is Paul Pustavar.
You got it. You draw for one, you're one down. Playing 8. It's not the end of the world, Linda.
I was surprised too, Ray. I didn't think he could make it, and as you say, because you have to play that extra weight, it's a very dangerous attempt.
Well, I think, as you mentioned, if you're going to play that split, why don't you play it the shot before the rock got moved over that far? The rock before, it was possibly there.
What do you think?
Instead of the come around.
And check in.
The U.S. team has last rock, and David Smith says he doesn't want to leave that stone in the front of the house, even though it is second shot, and he'll have to get it by his own stone at the back of the 8-foot.
This game, again, as you can tell by the score, 2-1, has been played very cleanly.
You dump one over there, but if you land behind the tee, it's not any better off.
4 blank ends.
I think a hit and roll. It's the right shot.
This is the Scottish third. 21-year-old Graham Connell. Works for the Scottish Hydro Department as a clerical assistant.
They have to hit the U.S. stone on the inside and try and roll to sit 2.
And just to tell you, we haven't deserted that game between Norway and Canada. We'll keep you updated if something develops there. Little parting gift for both you and Linda and Ray. Which country won the most men's World Curling Championships in the 1970s? In the decade of the 70s?
Well, I know which one it wasn't, but I don't know which one it was, so we'll think about that. It'd be nice to get the last one right, Vic. After all those ones that I got wrong.
I'll be taking this end off while I figure it out.
Okay.
Paul Pustavar, the U.S. third and his second stone. Scotland leading 2-1. United States with last rock, and Scotland lying 1. Back 12.
We haven't had a great look at this sheet. They've played the attempt to freeze. Just came up a little short.
Yeah, they may have just laid off it a little bit too much.
You'd almost think because they played the freeze that there isn't a lot of movement on this sheet, because they could have gone around the corner guard. Although if they'd done that, they would be virtually abandoning all hope of blanking it if things didn't work out.
That's a pretty shot.
David Smith and Graham Connell doing a little house cleaning before Smith and his first stone.
Even I hit the nose, we just about do. Just gotta be careful, Pete. It's pretty straight out here.
David talking to his younger brother, Pete Smith, the second for the Scottish rink. Picks it out and leaves himself still lying one, back 12.
That same line.
Can't say enough about
You can cut her down a hair.
the U.S. skip Steve Brown. How he started this World Championship with 3 straight losses, including losses to both Scotland and Canada in those first 3 games. And then he came back and rattled off 6 straight wins to put himself into the semifinal.
Quick as ever.
Quick as ever, they say, and it is very fast down this spot.
Let's go just a hair tighter.
This will be the first stone for the U.S. skip here in this 8th end, trailing 2-1. And if you haven't seen him before, he does take his time. Steve Brown, as deliberate as any skip in the game.
Just take your time, boys. Take your time. Take your time, guys. Easy, boys.
He's playing the freeze.
Easy.
He's trying. He was a little bit outside the broom. That's why he's saying not to sweep.
Right off.
He wants to let it curl before they sweep for weight.
Right off.
Rolls up beside. It's funny, before he threw it, he'd asked for even less ice, and he maybe could have used a little bit less still.
Try and hit and check over the top of the forefoot. Hit and just check. Even hitting the nose there wouldn't be a disaster. What's that? They're level at the moment now. Maybe take a wee bit more grass than that. Tell that just a normal weight and take that ice.
Scotland would like to roll a little bit away from this spot, but David Smith said if it stays, it's still a hard shot for the U.S.
Looking for the hit and roll. He'll sit right there. He said he wouldn't mind that either. Now we want to go back to the game between Norway and Canada, with Canada leading 5-1. And as you might expect, Canada played it up and down the sheet, removing everything the Norwegians put up. And this is the final stone for Norway and Eigil Ramsfjell. Here in the 8th end of play, and he'll hit and take one. And it's now a 5-2 game, Canada leading after 8 ends of play. And you don't want to suggest to it, but the way that was played, I don't know, maybe that was a point of concession there. I don't know.
Well, I think he's just going through the motions now, Vic. He's just, he knows that the game is over.
As we return to the game between the USA and Scotland, is it a double here? Could he hit blank here? Is it possible?
He could. I don't know if he can blank. No, he couldn't blank. I don't think. Have to hit a thin, too thin. He's going to hit as opposed to draw. If you hit it thin enough to blank, I think you would drive it onto the back yellow one, Linda.
I think so.
So
that's why.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's why David Smith said if it stays right there with his last one, the U.S. really can't do much with it.
Pass that. Cut her down
Erica
again.
Brown, Jill Jones, Debbie Henry, 3 fine young curlers from the USA watching their Erica, her father, and Debbie, her father. Stevie's just not ready, doesn't feel right.
They've come close with the time clock in previous games. It appears that they have enough time this game.
It's a big shot for Steve Brown, trailing 2-1, and he's playing a team in Scotland that you don't want to let it get away either, or you'll see the same thing as Eigil Ramsfjell is seeing with Kevin Martin.
Oh yeah, if he gives up a single here.
Right off, right off, right off.
Uh-oh. It's going to roll out, I think.
He is. Didn't come across enough. And Steve Brown will give up the steal of 1 to Scotland. And now he'll trail by 2 against a team that likes to hit as much as any. He can do it just as well.
An incredible triple. 3-time world champion Kurt Browning is on TSN. Here's your chance to talk to Kurt about his phenomenal career. Another great combination. Kurt Browning and Pat Marsden on It's Your Call. Monday, 7:30 Eastern, only on TSN.
There are 2 kinds of people in the world. Those who want to know.
Harvey, these light dinners give us their cholesterol and fat levels.
And those who don't.
Delicious.
To those who want to know.
It's right here on the front.
Light to Light puts it out front.
Where we can see them.
For those who don't want to know. Light to Light simply tastes better than ever. McCain Light Delight. The information's on the outside. The taste is on the inside.
Brings you back to life.
All right, there's superstars in action, Hillbilly.
That's right, Gene, right here on All American Wrestling.
See it throughout Canada, right here on TSN.
Watch for WWF Wrestling weekly on TSN.
The easiest shot, or the easier shot, may have been the open draw against the 2, but Steve Brown made the decision to hit against the 2 Scottish stones, the edge of the 12-foot, edge of the 8, and he paid the price. Couldn't hold the shooter, rolled out, gives up the steal of 1, and now Scotland leads 3-1 going to 9. The U.S. will have last rock.
Ah, boy, look, you know what? Haven't seen one of those pins since the '88 Olympics in Calgary. The TSN pin from the Olympic Games, and pin trading very much a part of the sport of curling and very much a part of the hog line in.
Good shot, buddy.
Let's go for broke time for the U.S. That's a tough shot that Steve Brown tried to play to hold the shooter. That outside in turn is so straight, and he has no room to roll to the outside to get his point.
The Scottish second is 26-year-old Peter Smith. Three members of this Scottish rink are all farmers. Peter and his brother David have a grain and potato farm. The lead, David Hay, is also a grain farmer. Out in front, says the U.S. skip, Steve Brown.
Well, that's a big point that Stevie let get away from him, Vic. You know, we haven't been watching the game, and maybe he didn't feel he could draw. He had to be full 8-foot. But as Linda said too, he played a hit, and he played from the outside in, so you know, you could maybe play into those stones. I mean, there's no point us second guessing it because we haven't been watching the sheet. So if he makes it, then there's not even a comment. We don't even make a comment about it. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, so you know, you start to talk about it a bit. Okay, what's your fault, buddy?
All right, Ray, Linda, time for the big finish.
Okay.
Which country won the most men's world championships in the 1970s? Linda?
Well, I was going to say of the 4 teams out here, 3 of these nations did and Scotland didn't. I'm going to guess the U.S. at 3.
I say it's a trick question, and Canada and the U.S. at 3.
All right, Ray.
Way to go, Moosey.
Well, it wasn't that difficult. In 70, 71 was Duguid, and 72 was Melisuk, and then Canada didn't win again until the 80s, so you knew they had 3. Sweden, Kjell Ascarius won in 73, and Bud Somerville in 74, Otto Danieli in 75, U.S. Roberts won in 76, and Ragnar Camp, now living in Canada, won in 77, and in 78, right in this very building, Nichols. And in 1979, Christian Sorum was here with his wife, Billy, visiting.
Okay.
Boy.
Let's get this pair, right? What's that, buddy?
Graham Connell, the Scottish third, looking to peel off the center line guard put up by the U.S. Now trailing by 2 as we play this 9th hand.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't think it's necessary for us to say too much. Nothing in front, nothing in the rings.
This is one of those games where so many of the players are playing well. 4 out of the 8 men have percentages in the 90% range, and comes down to one shot here or there. That's the other problem with playing such a wide open style of game, Ray. If something goes wrong like that rollout last end and you've kept it this close, you now allow the other team to play that defensive style and carry the lead through to the end of the game.
I think in fairness to, you know, to these players though, and it's that
Get them together.
both teams, you know, just didn't, you know, played so well the hitting game. They just, you know, it looked to me like Stevie Brown tried to get something going. You know, you saw Eigil trying to get something going early, but just couldn't. You know, the both teams, all these players have so much skill now. You know, being able to run those front rocks off. The sliding delivery has made a big difference to this game. Years ago, you try throwing from the hack, deliver from the hack, and peel 30 straight rocks. No way, mister. No way. Now, I know that, Victor, you maybe weren't curling when we threw from the hack, but...
Clean!
Graham Connell.
You're still throwing from the hack.
That's right. As they continue to peel stones here in this game between Scotland and the U.S., we want to go back now to the game between Norway and Canada. Canada very much in control, playing 9, leading 5-2. Centerline guard put up by Norway. Kevin Martin with his first stone flashed it. And so this will be the first stone for the Norwegian skip. Or pardon me, is it? Yes, it is. The first stone for the Norwegian skip. The second stone for the Norwegian skip. Eigil Ramsfjell. Canada does have last draw.
It's okay, pal. You had a 50-50 chance, and I didn't know either.
And I noticed you weren't trying to bail me out.
No, I wasn't helping you out.
Thanks a lot.
Too little. little too late as far as I'm concerned. Good shot. He needed that a few ends ago.
Draws it the back of the 4, half buried. Maybe into 3/4. Canada with last rock, leading 5-2.
I think Kevin will just play this split plan, run this through. The front one's not in, so.
Well, that's the thing. We could just try the double. Give him one, so what? Okay.
I'd be very
It's a better
tempted
call
to do
because, yeah, if they ever curl too much on you, you happen to chip the front one on, now you give up 2. So
right.
Play the run through. That's the shot that Eigil needed back in the 6th end.
First one's not a biter. Now what a horrible throw.
Well, Stevie Brown has played David Smith a few times before, and no time has been able to get any rocks in play.
Clean.
Final stone of the 9th end. Runs it back, and he was quite prepared to give up the steal of 1 to Norway in the 9th end, and so it is 5-3. Canada leading as they go to 10, and Kevin Martin will have last rock. Now we return to the U.S. and Scotland. Wide open. Nothing in play in the rings or in front, and this will be the first stone for the U.S. skip, Steve Brown.
I remember Steve having a chat with Ray and saying, some games when you play these teams that hit so well, you have to draw around the hat. He put his hat down on the ice in 1 year to try and get something up front to draw around, and that's the situation here.
Once we're in, we're actually better off. We're back away. Let's give him a chance. Fast as ever?
Steve Brown in his first stone.
Right off.
Really going to need some kind of miracle to get back into this one, I think.
Right off. Right off. Take her back now. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back. All the way back.
Not too much off the sand. Just get up in it. Keep it together.
Look at the front end. Little snow shoveling by David Hay and Peter Smith to make sure that the stone's path is nice and clean for their skip. And on this takeout,
And then the skip goes down and just makes sure they didn't miss anything.
Scotland with last rock to begin the game scored 1, and they trade blanks. The big point, though, is that steal of 1 in the last end, the 8th for Scotland, to give them their 2-point lead. And a questionable, somewhat questionable call by Steve Brown to hit when it looked like he maybe should have drawn.
Yeah, it's away.
Final stone for Scotland. And the Scotland stone will hang on to the edge of the 12-foot. Do you want to take your 1 here and be trailing by 1, or would you rather be trailing by 2?
I'd rather have a few more ends to play to try and get some points. I'd blank it, but...
And go home with the hammer and trailing by 2.
Yeah, it's because they're feeling so well, it's really immaterial, it seems.
right on the outside of the stone is the indication from the U.S. third, Paul Pustavar. That beaten up old throwing stick of Steve Brown's told Ray that even has a notch in it where he puts his finger when he's holding it. See, look at it. He's looking right there. Bang.
I had a chance, Dick, just to interrupt for a minute.
Sorry, go ahead.
To whisper and talk to David Hay, and I kind of asked him. I said to him, "Why didn't Stevie Brown play the draw in the end where the point was stolen?" And he said, "Reggie, I don't know, because it was a very difficult little hit. You had to hit it absolutely perfect, because if you hit it on the outside, you drive it back onto the side one." So, as David said, it's amazing some of the things you do under pressure.
Well, here's the final stone now of the 9th. Steve Brown will hit and stick and take one. And so he will again have to steal. In 10, he stole his way to these final 4. Will he be able to steal the win against Scotland? Now let's return to the game, the semifinal between Norway and Canada, playing 2 sheets over. The Canadian second, Dan Petrick.
Not Dan.
And time and rocks slowly running out on Norway and Eigil Ramsfjell as he trails by 2, and Canada, Kevin Martin with last rock in the 10th. This the first of third stones, and this is the Norwegian third, Sjurlund.
It's a very tidy looking house there. I don't think there's a lot for Norway to work with.
Well, I think we saw the frustration in Eigil when he just hit that one on the nose and took a single point. I mean, at that point, he knew the game was over, and he just was going through the motions, going through the paces.
Kevin Park will try and do what the front end has done so well so far, and that's just peel off that center guard. Just like that. Just to the top of the 12. Kevin Park.
Lead. Wow. Clean.
And now Norway and Eigil Ramsfjell must make their final 2 stones count.
You think Vegas was taking any part of this right now? I don't think so, Vic. You couldn't get a bet anywhere in the world on this.
No.
It's been a lot easier game on the Canadian coaches than the one earlier where Julie Sutton had to make her last shot, a fairly difficult last rock for the win.
Into the top of the 12 for Ramsfjell at his first stone. And Kevin Martin and his rink from the Otwell Curling Club in Edmonton. chance to end it here and advance to the final of these Canada Safeway World Curling Championships in Winnipeg. Just listen to the crowd. Canada, Kevin Martin has won it by a 5-3 final over Eigil, Ramsfjell, and Norway. And now they will go on to the final against either Scotland or the United States here in Winnipeg. And we'll return with the final few stones of that other semifinal, United States and Scotland. Scotland right now leading by 2 when we come back.
Okay, work with me now, people, okay? See this name, Goodyear? What do you think of when you see this name?
Tires.
See, that's what I mean. For years, we've been doing tune-ups. Thank you, Gord, son of the owner. Tune-ups, under the hood work, but still, when we say Goodyear, you say...
Tires.
Come on, work with me on this.
From tune-ups to tires, Goodyear takes you home.
Goodyear does tune-ups. This is not a big reach. Pretty clear.
Call this a hamburger. Call this a cheeseburger. Whoa! What's this? From now on, Canada, this will buy you one of our original juicy hamburgers. And this will buy you a cheeseburger. And this will buy you lots. Because from now on, our hamburger is just 69 cents, and our cheeseburger is now just 79 cents. The new Real Value menu. You'll love the change at McDonald's.
Welcome back to the Winnipeg Arena and the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships one men's semifinal. Still to complete, and that is Scotland and the USA, with Scotland leading 3-2 as they play the 10th. Scotland with last rock.
Sit down, big guy.
Let's go down to ice level now. Ray is standing by with Kevin Martin.
Thanks, Vic. Kevin, you're still rolling right along. Just fantastic. Congratulations, a terrific win.
That was big, no doubt. The guys made everything that game. Didn't want Eigil to win.
No, I'd like to ask you a question about his shot in the 6th end in particular, where he tried to, well, let's talk about the 6th end first of all. When you were putting up the guard and you left him the hole, you felt he was just a little bit heavy on that shot?
That was a wicked hole to try to get through. You put it out at all, it'll fall back. You turn it a touch and it's gone. So he would have had to have been unbelievably perfect to make that shot. So that's the way it goes. It was close.
You don't think it was just a draw shot? I mean, I know it was a small hole, and to say just a draw isn't maybe fair, but he looked like he had about back 12-foot weight.
Yeah, a little bit big, and that's why it didn't come. He just took the outside guard, and it was definitely there, and I kind of thought he might make it, but that's the way it goes.
The other question I'd like to ask you about, because I looking at it on the telestrator and looking at it, in the 7th, and he tried the split. I don't think the split was there, Kevin. How did you feel about it? I mean, he was trying to split the front runk on for 2.
I was pretty shocked he even tried it. I couldn't see it being there, but I don't know. It certainly wasn't the way he hit it anyway. So, but that was a game as soon as he gave us those 2. That was it.
Yeah, because if he draws for 1 there, he's only 1 down.
Who knows what'll happen?
That's right. Anything can happen.
Especially when I breeze 1 and 9.
That's right. You get a nose hit. Well, it was a terrific curling game, and it looks like it's leading up to Scotland has a little bit of control of their game, and it's not over by any stretch of the imagination. But it could be another Scotland-Canada final.
That could be. It looks like it probably will be. Smith will likely peel it down from here on in. So we're looking forward to it.
Any special thoughts about playing Scotland since there was a little bit of controversy in the early game during the round robin?
I don't think we just have to shoot high percentage and not worry about anything. If the percentages come through like today, I don't think we have to worry a bunch.
Fine. Thanks, Kevin, very much for joining us, and congratulations. We're really looking forward to tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Vic, Kevin Martin just keeps rolling down that road.
He does indeed. Congratulations to the Canadian rink for winning the semifinal, and now we'll play either Scotland or the United States. As we return to this semifinal 10th end action, Scotland leading 3-2, and they do have last rock. The U.S. lying one, biting the top of the 12.
It looks wide open, but actually Scotland missed a rock early in the end, a center rock that the U.S. team put up. Later in the end, there was a tremendous double takeout by Scotland to get out of that bad situation, and since then they've just been peeling off the stones.
Just as Kevin Martin suggested to Ray that they would.
Excuse me, Linda. Whoa.
Well, the cheers are for Eigil Ramsfjell and his rink from Norway. Eigil leaving the Winnipeg arena after his 13th appearance at a World Championship. He has 3 world crowns to his credit. He thought that this would be his day. He wanted to. Many people wanted to hook up with Canada in the semifinal, thinking that he could take advantage of some extra pressure on the Canadians. It didn't work out for Norway. Canada wins it 5-3.
Just to go on with your thought, Linda, there was a miss on this in this particular game, and so the USA got the nose hit they wanted. And then you know how we've talked about all week long about where you put the second guard. Do you go in right away? Do you try and put up another guard? Stevie Brown decided to play up a second guard, and as you mentioned, David Hay made an absolutely fabulous double and got the shooter to roll off and cleared the whole thing up. So it's that conversation you and I have had all week, Linda.
I'm a great believer in coming into the house to avoid that. I know that doesn't always work either, but we've seen, especially with these great hitting teams, a lot of those double peels on front rocks.
I think that's the whole point. You know, I agree with you too. Maybe against a team that doesn't hit so well, you could afford to, you know, try and find a spot for another guard, or even go to the rings somewhere. But you know, when you put another one up in front and you're playing these good hitting teams, and David Hay threw a great shot and cleared everything off.
Whoop. Yep. All right.
Just a reminder, you'll be able to see the finals of this Canada Safeway World Curling Championships. Canada against Norway in women's competition, and Canada against either the U.S. and Scotland on CTV, live from the Winnipeg Arena, starting at 12 noon Eastern Time. The finals of the World Curling Championships on CTV Sunday afternoon. And the Canadian rink of Kevin Martin will be there.
You remember this situation in Toronto, Vic, when we were Stevie Brown was playing David Smith, and David was running him out of rocks, and Stevie went up and put the hat down and indicated he would draw around it.
In fact, so Linda just mentioned that a few minutes ago.
He just needs the hat out there now.
Yeah. Oh boy, the rings are probably as small as the hat he's wearing, because he's got nowhere to hide. The first stone for the U.S. skip here in this 10th end, and he does not have last rock. Needs one to tie.
Right off. Right off. Let her set. Okay.
Front end again cleaning up, and then David Smith, the trailer, just picking up some loose ends as he gets ready for his first stone. Oh, I tell you what, it could be a war if it is indeed Scotland against Canada, and Martin with his corn broom, because the Scots just hate it, absolutely hate it.
You don't see Kevin bring out the corn usually until the game is later in the game and very close, or if they fall behind. So it would be interesting to see if he brought it out early, just because he knows Scotland doesn't like it.
You know, and the other thing is too, and I don't know how much a part of it is, Smith will peel off the U.S. stone. Psychologically, maybe Martin, I don't know, I'm guessing, might try to throw Smith off his game just a little bit by bringing out that broom and maybe bringing it out early.
Right in a pot, huh?
He's had a great run, Steve Brown. What a marvelous story here at these World Curling Championships.
Oh, it's interesting. Lindy's going to put it right on the button. You think you might try and get it towards one of the edges where it might be a little bit frostier or something, but
curling in complete anonymity. Asked him, is anybody following you from back home? He said, haven't had a newspaper, haven't had a radio station, nothing. Well, hopefully they'll take notice of Steve Brown after his performance here at the World Championships.
Certainly been the best U.S. men's performance we've seen for a while. Especially considering Becky got off to such a bad start. Losing his first 3 games, came back to win 6 straight. But the string is going to end right here, I'm afraid.
Steady, Dust.
He's got to be in the rings.
Wah, wah, wah.
Got to be in the rings or it's all over.
Right in a pot.
He wanted on the pot. I tell you what, when the brushes didn't touch it, it looked like it may be heavy. And now, here go David Hay and Peter Smith leading the way for their skip.
That's the draw he needed in the 8th end when he played the hit, Linda.
Yeah, it leaves David Smith one of the easiest shots, and that's the open hit. Just down the middle of the sheet, he throws it hard and straight. He'll just aim near the rock.
Yeah, well.
Velcro snap, Victor. There it is for you.
Oh, yes. Right there. (3-2), Scotland leading. Final stone for the Scottish skip. David Smith of Perth doesn't even have to hold the shooter. For a trip to the final and another meeting with Canada. There it is. Scotland will win it by a score of 4-2. David Smith and his rink of David Hay, Peter Smith, and Graham Connell advance to the men's final against Canada here at the 91 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships.
Most of us would like to have life insurance so we can leave something behind for our loved ones. But by the age of 50, we think it'll be too difficult and too expensive to get insurance.
They have the high blood pressure. They're bound to fail the medical.
With Norwich Union's guaranteed life insurance plan, if you're between 50 and 75, your acceptance is guaranteed, with no medical exam and no health questions. Your insurance can cost as little as $20 a month. Depending on your age and the premium you choose, you could be covered for up to $25,000. In case of accidental death, your benefit triples, up to $75,000. Call this toll-free number now for your free personal enrollment kit. You're under no obligation, and no salesperson will come to your home. Call 1-800-263-9899. An operator is standing by to take your call now. That's 1-800-263-9899. Ask for operator 203.
Placido Domingo, the world's most popular tenor, sings an album of the world's most beautiful love songs. Now, all these cherished songs are captured on a new album from Capitol Records. Placido Domingo, Be My Love. 16 immortal love songs, including Love Story, Somewhere My Love, and Spanish Eyes. Placido Domingo, Be My Love. A treasury of love songs you'll cherish for years to come. On double-length cassette, $14.95. Compact disc, $19.95. Stand by to order.
Call toll-free 1-800-473-4123 or send check or money order for $14.95 for double-length cassette, $19.95 for one compact disc, plus $4 shipping to Placido Domingo, P.O. Box 600, Station R, Toronto, Ontario.
Now it's time for the TSN Turning Point, brought to you by National Trust, and it may be a turning point that Eigil Ramsfjell remembers for a long time.
Well, it certainly was an obvious turning point because he was going for one through the hole, possible two if he could tap back the Canadian stone at the back of the 4-foot, but he had to be in there for the one, and he's going to wreck out in front, a steal for Canada, and they'll take that lead all the way.
And they go on to win it 5-3 the final and move on to the final of these World Curling Championships. A cash donation has been made to the Coaching Association of Canada on behalf of TSN and National Trust for the development of amateur coaches in Canada. National Trust, helping you secure your future. Kevin Martin under the spotlight as he faces questions from the media. He's a finalist here in Winnipeg.
It's winter. Let the games begin. When the games are through, it's time for a blue. Labatt's blue. It's the way we play. Membership in some clubs can involve some rather strange rituals, like secret handshakes, interesting fashion statements, and certain tests. But when you join the Sears Club, all you have to do is use your Sears card to collect points. Points that can be redeemed for almost anything in the store or catalog. As a result, Sears Club members tend to have little rituals as well. Welcome to the club.
Okay, let's move. Luxury goes over there. More room and comfort, please. This is a 4-door. Build up that gas mileage. More. Now, cut down that price. Way down. All right, she is ready to roll.
The new 4-door sidekick from Suzuki. We build them right.
At the end of March, one of the most prestigious winter sports events in the world will be taking place in Western Canada. The Canada Safeway World Curling Championships at the Winnipeg Arena. The event brings together the top men's and women's competitors in the game and is indeed a proud moment for us all.
On behalf of our 22,000 employees in Western Canada, Canada Safeway is pleased to have been able to bring this fine event to the Canadian prairies.
The 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships are brought to you in part by Canada Safeway and its employees. Safeway, bringing the world together. The World Curling Championships are down to the finals now for 1991. We're here at the Winnipeg Arena. Hello again, everybody. Vic Rudder along with Linda Moore, Ray Turnbull. It's been quite the day. Really impressed by Julie Sutton, more so because she was able to bounce back after losing those 2 final games and had a very good game against Sweden.
It was a very strong performance. I think Julie especially, it's hard for a skip. You lose a little bit of confidence. Obviously, the coaches did something for them, but Julie herself really was determined and played great.
And Ray, we know that Doherty Nordby, the defending women's champion, can play, and she showed it as well against Scotland, especially in that one situation where she was forced to make the draw to the button after a stone she thought should have come off didn't.
Well, that showed a lot of character, Vic. It really did, because she had to dig in deep because she really thought that maybe that stone should have been taken off by the umpire, but she just, once the ruling was made, she went down the hack, she started to concentrate, and she put it right in the pinhole.
Well, that is going to be, I think, a tremendous women's final. The men's final should be just as good, but I think for different reasons, because everybody will be looking at the controversy earlier in the week, the corn, Smith and his hatred of the corn broom, and Kevin Martin's use of it.
I don't know. It's going to be a question of, can anybody beat this Canadian team? Kevin Martin and his team have played so well. Corn or not, I think they're going to be tough to beat.
And the other thing is, too, they both love to run
if they get the lead. So if one does, they're both equally good at peeling.
Well, they are, Vic. There's no question about that. But I don't think that David Smith will let the corn bother him at all. He's in the final. It's his third final. I think he wants it very badly. I said that at the very beginning of the week, that look out for David Smith. But, Linda makes a terrific point. Who is going to beat Kevin Martin? He is just on such a roll. He's just flying, man.
That's right, and there is nobody in his team that has really been the weak link. They've all played very well.
No, percentages, whatever you want to look at, they're not missing shots. They're setting up the shots for Kevin, both Kevin Park and Kevin Martin. They don't have tough shots, and that's showing up right now.
All right, so in the women's final, it is Norway against Canada. In the men's final, Canada against Scotland. We'll return with some final thoughts when we come back to Winnipeg, the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships.
Wait! I'm having a snack attack!
Captain Nibbler to the rescue with new cheese nibblers from McCain, the delicious, nutritious snack that satisfies your sudden hunger as only the taste of real cheese can. McCain makes nibblers from 100% cheddar, mozzarella, Monterey, or marble cheese in convenient single snacks and multi-packs. So when you feel a snack attack coming on, grab a McCain cheese nibbler.
National Sports Center. For your sport, count on the lowest prices on equipment. For your problem, count on a hassle-free return policy. For your needs, count on a great selection. And you can count on Brooks.
Never, never, never stop.
Maximum Wave. Action, fashion, performance.
Never, never, never stop.
Maximum Wave. National Sports Center. Count on total customer satisfaction. It's guaranteed.
Just enough time to say thank you to some people, and most notably yourself, Linda and Ray. It's been another tremendous season. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you back, and to all the people at TSN who have allowed me to work with you gentlemen and the rest of the crew. I appreciate it very much. It's my chance to stay with curling and with you fellows.
Yeah, it's been terrific.
It's been a great year, Vic. Right from the Canadian Curling Report through, and we've had a tremendous year. It's been super, Linda, to work with you again, and I know that I look forward to the fall. Victor, always a pleasure, and thanks to everyone that we've worked with. The guys have been great, our directors, our producers. It's been a fabulous year. And who knows, have a good summer, golf well.
Thank you very much. May I echo those thanks to our crews in Saskatoon, in Hamilton, and here in Winnipeg. It's been our pleasure to work with you, to our production staff. Thank you very much, and thank you to you watching as well. We receive an awful lot of nice comments, and we are thankful that you like us so much. Here are the final matchups again. In the women's competition, it will be Canada. Julie Sutton against Norway, and Doherty Norby, the defending women's champion. And in the men's play, Kevin Martin, Canada against Scotland, and David Smith. So till we talk with you again, on behalf of Linda, Ray, and our entire crew, I'm Vic Rowder. Goodbye from the 91 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships.
Embedded in